Welcome to Absolute Facts, where true stories reveal the shocking side of human nature. Our countdown today: 10 crocodile tears moments when false emotions and hidden truths collided in chilling real-life events. It all began in November 2013. Porcia Bruxe, just 20 years old, and her boyfriend Aaron Martin were sitting in their car on a quiet street in Norwood, USA, when a night that seemed ordinary turned into pure horror. What started as a robbery spiraled into tragedy. The attacker, Yalil Smith Riley, the face you see on screen, ended Porcia's life and left Aaron with injuries that would haunt him forever. For years, he vanished. But thanks to Aaron's courage and an unforgettable description, justice finally caught up with him. This is just one of the haunting tales of Crocodile Tears, where every story proves that not all who cry are innocent. Number 10. The courtroom breakdown that went viral for all the wrong reasons. When the judge announced a life sentence, Yalil Smith Riley didn't just cry, he collapsed. He hit the floor, gasping, shaking, sobbing like a man who just realized the weight of his own evil. Guards had to lift him up so he could even finish hearing the verdict. But don't be fooled by the tears. Those weren't tears of remorse, they were crocodile tears. The kind you cry when you finally face the consequences of your own choices. See, at first, Yalil confessed to everything, admitting what he did just to dodge the death penalty. But when the deal landed him life behind bars, suddenly he changed his tune, claiming he was innocent. The judge didn't flinch, he shut that down instantly and handed him life without parole. His cries echoed through the courtroom, but no one believed them. Because this wasn't regret. This was the sound of a monster realizing he'll never walk free again. Number 9. A murder plot straight out of a twisted soap opera. Meet Diana Lovejoy, a woman who turned heartbreak into horror. Fueled by rage from a bitter custody battle, she teamed up with her firearms instructor and secret lover, Weldon Mike Davis, to eliminate her ex-husband, Greg Mulvale. Their plan was as cold as it was calculated. An anonymous call lured Greg to a wooded area near his home, where Weldon lay in wait, ready to pull the trigger. The shot rang out, but Greg survived. And that survival exposed everything. The investigation quickly unraveled their lies, texts, phone calls, and clear evidence tied both Diana and Weldon to the attempted murder. In 2017, the jury delivered justice. 26 years for Diana, 50 for Weldon. But here's the moment that stunned everyone as the verdict was read. Diana stared blankly at her lawyer, then suddenly collapsed, fainting dramatically in court. Paramedics rushed in with a stretcher, but many wondered, was it real? Given her history of deceit and manipulation, her fainting act felt like one last performance. Even in later trials, she tried to cry her way to sympathy, but all she managed was to prove that the tears of a liar never fool anyone. Number 8. A courtroom moment that silenced everyone and reminded the world what true forgiveness looks like. In the middle of a murder trial filled with anger and grief, the father of a slain pizza delivery man did something no one expected. He forgave his son's killer. The man on trial was Trey Alexander Relford, found guilty of robbing and taking the life of an innocent young worker. But instead of vengeance, the victim's father chose mercy, guided by his deep Muslim faith. Standing before the court, he spoke words that shattered hearts. In his name, and in the name of his late wife, he forgave the man who destroyed their world. His words brought even the judge and the accused to tears. Overwhelmed, Trey stood up, apologizing for what he had done. He said he now understood the pain of losing a child because he himself had a 4-year-old daughter he would never see grow up, as he faced 31 years in prison. Then came a moment no one will ever forget. The two men, once divided by tragedy, shook hands and embraced. In that instant, the courtroom wasn't about guilt or punishment, it was about the power of forgiveness. Number 5. The courtroom that turned into chaos and the convict who couldn't handle justice. In 2010, a 19-year-old named Sanderson Jackson stood trial for the cold-blooded murder and robbery of Nathan Potter, a 21-year-old university student whose only mistake was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Throughout the trial, Jackson showed no remorse, smirking, mocking, and glaring at the victim's family as if he had nothing to lose. But when the judge had delivered the verdict, life in prison without parole, his arrogance shattered in an instant. Furious, Jackson exploded with rage, cursing the judge and screaming at the victim's family. Officers rushed in, But he wouldn't stop until they had no choice but to pepper spray him right there in the courtroom. And as if the scene couldn't get any darker, his family joined in shouting curses at the grieving relatives of Nathan Potter, blaming them instead of accepting his guilt. It was one of the most disgraceful displays ever seen in a court of law, a killer exposed not just for his crime, but for the complete absence of humanity behind it. Number 4. A killer who laughed at justice and mocked death itself. In 2014, Luis Bracamontes, an undocumented Mexican national, brought terror to California when he brutally murdered 2 police officers. But it wasn't just his crime that shocked the nation, it was the way he celebrated it. Twice deported before, Bracamontes returned to the U.S. to unleash violence, and during his trial, he showed zero remorse. In fact, he smirked, laughed, and proudly declared that his only regret was not killing more officers. He threatened everyone, the prosecutors, the judge, even his own defense lawyers, as if the courtroom were his stage. Then, in a moment that froze everyone in disbelief, he demanded the death penalty himself. And when the judge granted his wish, Bracamontes didn't flinch. He sat back, smirking, quietly applauding his own sentence. It was one of the most chilling displays of arrogance ever witnessed, a man who didn't just kill without mercy, but mocked the very idea of justice, turning his final moments in court into a show of pure evil. Number 2. The courtroom that turned into a circus, and the killer who became his own clown. In 2018, Ronnie O'Neal committed one of the most horrific crimes imaginable. He murdered his girlfriend and his 9-year-old disabled daughter, then set their home on fire. He even attacked his 8-year-old son, who miraculously escaped the burning house and lived to tell the story. But the real shock came later when Ronnie decided to defend himself in court. That's right, he acted as his own lawyer, turning the trial into pure madness. In a move that stunned everyone, he even cross-examined his own son, the same boy who bravely testified that his father was the killer. His confidence was delusion, his performance pathetic. And when the verdict finally came, justice hit him hard. 3 life sentences plus 60 additional years. Ronnie O'Neal. He thought he could outsmart the system, but all he did was prove that monsters don't wear masks sometimes. They stand in court smiling, pretending to be their own defense. The only way he's leaving prison now is in a pine box. Number 1. A case so disturbing, it shattered every notion of faith and humanity. Meet Seth and Tatiana Fusari, a couple who let their 10-month-old baby girl die of hunger and thirst, all in the name of twisted faith. They claimed their Christian beliefs forbade doctors, calling their daughter's slow, painful death a natural situation. But there was nothing natural about it. When police arrived, they found the crib mattress broken and soaked in urine, with a tub underneath collecting the filth. The baby was so malnourished, she couldn't even cry, weighing barely half a kilogram more than she did at birth. Even worse, while their daughter lay dying, Seth was busy writing to an acquaintance about selling a goat, casually describing his own child as stiff as a nail before he even called for help. The jury needed just 80 minutes to decide their fate, life in prison without parole for both. Tatiana wept, shaking her head in denial. Seth just stared in disbelief. But the verdict wasn't shocking, it was justice. What's truly shocking is that the only people meant to protect that innocent child were the same ones who let her die, proving once again, evil doesn't always hide in darkness. Sometimes, it wears the mask of faith. There's the mask.